Hi, welcome to another episode of Bethany Talks About Stuff. I'm your host, Bethany F. DeVores, author of the Sea Chronicles, available from Amazon. And today, I just want to start off today's episode by saying I do actually have a studio set up with a real camera and everything, but things went wrong today. So I got some new hardware. I got a new microphone, which is working great. I got a new camera, which is wonderful. Um, but my hardware is not working well together. And then I didn't get an AC adapter, and the battery died.
Oh, whoops.
So I spent all day running around getting the hardware and the connectivity and power. So okay, it's on its way. I ordered it. So maybe the next episode will be back to normal but better. So, all that said, today's episode is about Isom. So, a couple of days ago, I posted a 55-second video saying, I got this. Yay! And it is my most highly viewed video so far, which tells me people are on the edge of their seat to learn more about this. So I'm very excited to bring this to you. Obviously, people are excited to hear about it, and it's it's good, y'all. So I want to tell you a little bit about my background before I give you a review, so you have some context as to where my experience lies. So you can take my review with a grain of salt. I am a geek. I write fantasy. It's a portal fantasy. I love playing fantasy video games. I read fantasy books. I like fantasy movies, but I also like sci-fi. I love the superhero genre since I was a kid, but I haven't been a huge comic book reader. I watched the old X-Men cartoon, from the 90s. I loved that show, but I didn't really read comics. When I was in my very late teens, early 20s, I probably was right at 20. I moved in with a roommate who had had a previous roommate, and that roommate had left unexpectedly. And they said, "Look, whatever's in there, you can have it. They're not coming back. They've told me they're not coming back." So I went into the room, and there were like 2 or 3 boxes of waterlogged X-Men comics. And they were obviously not really worth anything anymore because they were all damaged, had water damage. However, they were legible. I could still read them. And I think I sat there probably for 2 days, and all I did was read comics. Like, I only worked part-time at the time. It was a long story, but I just read book after book after book, and I was like, "This medium is amazing. I can see why people are so excited about it." And I'd like to say at that time, I then hopped on the comic book train, but I didn't, to be honest. But it wasn't because I said, "Oh, there's something wrong with it." I just couldn't really keep up. And I was keeping up with a lot of other things. So I didn't, but I have always and still do love the superhero genre. And so I've thought I would actually like to try comics again, but frankly, I'm kind of disenfranchised with the current state of comic books. I have loved all the Marvel movies and most of the DC movies up until the end of phase 3 with Marvel. I just went, what else after Endgame? And I realized that those were not necessarily true to the source material, but from my understanding, from watching commentators and people who are in the know, the source material has kind of gone off the rails too, right? When I saw that Eric July was founding Rippaverse, I was really, really excited because I'm ready to sink my teeth into a new IP. I'm ready to get on board with a new fandom. But I also was very nervous because I'm not gonna follow a I'm not gonna join a fandom just because, and I won't stay with one just because. It's gotta be good. Like, I joined the Doctor Who fandom pretty late, and I was really, really enjoying it, and I got all the way caught up, and then I started watching, with Matt Smith, and it just started going downhill. By the time Peter Capaldi came around, who, by the way, I'd like to say was probably a very fine actor. I think he's a good actor. I think the writing had already just started to run off the rails, and it just wasn't interesting. I just wasn't enjoying it already, and I just went, "Well, I guess I'm not a Whovian anymore." Like, not for the current stuff, and then it just continued to go very strange.
Feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
All that said, there's your context. I'm kind of a normie when it comes to comic books, but I am a geek when it comes to just IPs, and I have been really excited for this. Rippaverse was founded by Eric July, who is a musician, commentator. He has his own YouTube show. He's just done a little bit of everything. And I've followed him for a while. Some things I agree with him, some things I don't. That's just life, right? But when I saw he was coming out with his own comic book, I was very excited because I know that he's like really adamant about the source material, about good stories. And when it comes to entertainment, we have a lot in common with our thoughts. So I hopped right on there. Now, again, if you're not familiar with this, to give you some context about this campaign, he had a pre-order campaign for his first book with different artwork you could get. I purchased, obviously, I purchased one. I also got some artwork, which is coming separately. Um, but during that campaign, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, he sold over 46,000 units and raised over $3.7 million in sales. Y'all, that's insane. It's insane. This man took his own money, started this company, brought on comic book veterans, great artists. He's got a great team, and I am happy to say this is a very, very good product. It's very good. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. There will be mild spoilers. So, if you don't want any spoilers, now is the time to turn away and go make you a drink or eat something. I don't know. What do you want to do with your time? I don't care. So this is this is the very first book, and it is Ill Advised Part One. You can see, even with this bad camera, that this is a very high quality book. Like, this is not like cheap paper. It's very pretty. It's beautiful. The artwork is really good. It's really good. It's hard. I don't want to show you too much because I don't want to spoil it. But it's y'all. It's good. So with it being a new company, even though I want it to be good, I'm always a little willing to give a little leeway to a new company. I didn't need to. I didn't need to. This is gorgeous. It's really nice. I really, really, really want to avoid spoilers. So I'm going to be very careful about this and give you just some very basic information about the story. The main character is Avery Silman, and he owns a ranch, and he is what's called an accept, or an accept. I don't know how they're saying it. Accept. So it's kind of your Rippaverse answer to mutants. A little bit different, but it's the idea. People with like superhuman abilities are considered accepts. Accepts, and he is one. He had been living that superhero life, and he left it to start a ranch, which seems to be doing well. But at the very beginning of the book, he gets a call from a family member who says, "Hey, we need your help with this. This chick has gone missing. You need to go look for her." And he's like, "I don't want any part of this." And they're like, "Too bad. You got to do it anyway." And he's like, "Well, okay, I will." And hilarity ensues. Not really hilarity, but you know what I mean. It's good. One of the things I did like about Avery is that he actually has some unlikable traits. He's kind of impulsive, he's stubborn, he's too proud, but he's still likable, but he's not perfect. In fact, he doesn't always win. I don't want to say too much, but he doesn't always win. And I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. But a little life lesson learned there. He has a sister named Altona and a niece named Vassie. And their characters are like them so far. He also has a fellow who runs his ranch when he's not there named Sam. And if anybody from the Rippaverse is watching this, I just want to say, don't hurt my man Sam. Okay. I'm just saying. Like, I'm already, I know it's a little bit, but I'm kind of invested in Sam. And I'm like, oh, no. So eh, just saying.
It's your Sam.
One of my takeaways from this, though, was there was a lot of um, marketing with art for a character named Yaira. And it's this chick. Let me see if I can find her really quick. This chick here. You see that? It's a lot of glare. My only complaint is that she is barely in here. And I kind of hate to say that because I don't want you not to get the book because of that. She is barely in here. She is introduced, and that page actually says, she will return. You're going to learn more about her. I'm really interested to know more about Yaira. I like both of these characters. There's some really interesting stuff kind of at the end, um, which I don't. I'm just not going to get into it because you really just need to read that yourself. Um, but I just wanted to share this. His hat says taxation is theft. It is, y'all. You know it is. We all know it is. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Nobody likes taxes. And that just made me chuckle. I loved that even though Avery is a likable character, he has these flaws. And I want to point out there's this one scene, and I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but he says, "Who the heck do you think you're talking to like that?" And I just identified with him so much at that moment because I like to think I'm not like a Karen or whatever, but I will admit, I don't like being talked to a certain kind of way. So I thought, yeah, he might not be making great decisions right now, but I kind of get it. Yeah. Who do you think you're talking to right now? Just saying. Anyway, this was good, you guys. It was very good. I'm bummed that part two is not already available because I am invested enough to want to know what's happening. I will be purchasing the next one, and I will continue to purchase as long as the story is good. I loved that this company has made a promise to the customer that they're not going to futz around with the timeline. Now, we're not, at one point, I thought alternate timelines and multiverses were kind of cool and it was kind of fun. But after a while, I realized, or I've come to a decision that I freaking hate that. I actually freaking hate that now because it's kind of an excuse to just twist everything on its ear to do whatever you want with these characters as opposed to being just true to the character. Like a character can have a character arc and still be the character. They can change and grow and evolve over time without you actually having to just change to a whole new character in a different alternate reality. I mean, a little bit of that goes a really long way, and I feel like the trend we've seen recently in reboots especially is to create this alternate universe or a multiverse or um, just take characters and just make them into not the same characters for the sake of being able to use that name to get guaranteed consumers because people go, "Oh, it's Rings of Power. It's Lord of the Rings. I'm going to love it because I love the Lord of the Rings." And y'all, if you're liking that show, hey, more power to you, but that ain't Lord of the Rings. That is a story that those storytellers, those showrunners wanted to tell their own story. And they just knew if they put it on the under the umbrella of the Lord of the Rings, they would have a built-in audience. And it feels really dishonest. And that's something Rippaverse has said, we're not going to do that. The story will stay the story. It'll grow, it'll change, it'll evolve, but it's the lore is going to stay the lore. And I tell you, as somebody who's tired of seeing all these companies breaking their own lore for not good reasons, I actually really value that. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Eric July. Thank you, Rippaverse. I'm just I know it seems maybe silly and um a little hard-headed myself, but doggone it. Stick with the story. I write books too, okay? I have 2 books in a fantasy series. I'm working on book 3. And let me tell you why book 3 is taking so long. Because I wrote books 1, 2, and 3, boom, 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 all in a row. And then I went back and I edited book 1, sent it through professional editing, made changes, got some feedback from beta readers, and then I polished it up and turned it out into the world. Then I picked up, okay, now let me edit book 2. Oh gosh, well, I changed some stuff in book 1, so stuff in book 2 doesn't make any sense. Rather than twist up what was in book 1, I made book 2 sync with book 1. So anything that didn't, as to the best of my ability, try to catch anything that didn't jive with what happened in book 1, got changed or taken out to make the lore consistent. And then in book 3, well, by the time I got to book 3, it kinda just didn't make any sense at all, so I'm having to do almost a complete rewrite. It's the danger of writing boom, 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 right? Like rough drafts, one right after the other, is that when you get through the editing process, stuff changes. If I'm willing to put in the work to do it, these people being paid a ridiculous amount of money, I'm looking at you, Rings of Power. You think they could do it? They had scholars. They fired Tom Shippey. I am really derailing. I'm so sorry. This is about Isom. Isom is really good. And once more of this is available, promise you, you should get one. And I have to tell you, I'm very sad I didn't buy 2 because I wish I had. I feel so strongly this company is going to do really well that I wish I'd bought 2 of these so I could have one to keep in the packaging as a collector's edition and then one to just read. But I only got 1, and I wanted to read it, so I read it twice. It's good, y'all, it's good. So, I hope that this video helped you learn something about this company and this book. I hope that you, if you are waiting for one, I hope it comes quickly. I hope I didn't spoil too much for you. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Are you excited about this? Do you think I'm being over the top about lore breaking and I should just relax and take a pill or something? I'm curious what your comments are, what your thoughts are. So leave me a comment. Of course, like, share, subscribe, all the things you're supposed to do on the internet. If you're new to my channel, please check out some of my other videos that are actually done in the studio with a backdrop and everything. And if you're not new, thanks for sticking with me. But that's it for now.